Yeah. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? We got another piece of the corner man here with yours truly, Mighty Quinn, and longtime MMA manager, Alex Davis. How are you, sir?
What's up, my friend? There you go, calling me sir again. I have to kick your ass again.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you could try. I mean, there's no video evidence of you ever kicking my ass or throwing me around
I'll put it
or
on.
anything.
I'll put it on Instagram, motherfucker.
Remember that happened, and I just get up and I go to Charles McCarthy. You saw nothing. You didn't see, but
Okay.
anyway.
Okay. So I stopped. I stopped here so we don't lose signal here, so I can
All right,
spend a few
great,
minutes with you.
awesome. All right, so
So you look
Alex, I
at
wanted to.
that. I'm
Oh yeah, look at
between
that.
Vegas and Phoenix. I'm on my way to the UFC. I'm taking some stuff for Charles. I got Norma Demo on the cards. Just give you an update. So go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Well, actually, this is why I wanted to have you on. I really wanted to get, this. I want to do a lot with this YouTube channel, and one of the things I want to do is I want to make sure that young fighters don't make the mistake that I made, thinking that they could work without a manager, thinking that managers aren't worth the money. Because at the end of the day, it would have helped my career a lot more had I had a manager. I don't know if it would have progressed my career past what I got to, but I would have got to where I was a lot sooner. And you're one of like the most genuine people in this sport. I really wanted to have you on, try to just talk about you, talk about what you do with your business, and just tell us about what goes on behind the scenes as an MMA manager.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. I never really tried to be an MMA manager. I just
Mhm.
fell into it. I was an Olympic level judo player, and then I raced professional motocross. I've been involved in professional sports for ever since I was a kid. I love sports. Never really enjoyed MMA that much, but since I'm Brazilian American, I ended up being dragged into it. People that I used to fight judo, and then I became friends with Marco Ruas, and I brought Marco Ruas to Florida to do a seminar, and then I was at Big Nog's first fight. He asked me for help, and there's a lot of stuff that a fighter needs so he can concentrate on his career, And there's a lot of ins and outs, a lot of information, a lot of stuff, So a manager is important. But today, we're at a point in the sport. It's not a very healthy point from my perspective. I mean, in other sports, like NFL or basketball or soccer, you have agents and it's all pretty well organized, And in MMA, it's not like that. Way back in the 1990s, when they decided to stop the sport and put it under the boxing commission's management, the athletic commission management, and that's what happened. And it's kind of, I think that there's a lot of improvement that needs to happen. For example, on the business side, there's no supervision, nor on the manager's roles, nor on the events, nor nothing. For example, with events, well, I'll give you a very good example. There was an event in Florida called Taura,
Mhm.
held an event in Orlando, and about, I'm not sure. I know that the guys I know weren't paid. Okay, so that's one thing the Athletic Commission should have. This is a Brazilian promoter. He shows up in Florida, gets a license, puts on a show, and runs away. And these poor guys that worked their asses off to fight didn't get paid. I thought, or I think it used to be, where if you wanted to hold an event, you had to put the purses on an escrow account. I don't know what changed there. Anyway, the commission said, they called me. Oh, we're going to investigate everything. And, nothing happened. You have managers out there charging 25%, and there's bubbles forming in front of these events. And only those managers that have that relationship, for whatever reason, be it a healthy reason or be it an unhealthy reason, kind of, if you have a very good fighter who doesn't have a relationship with the managers that has the relationship, for whatever reason he has this in, it could be it could be because, people like him, he's very professional, or it could be because he's doing guys favors and there's something going on underneath the table. Who knows? But that's a part. If the athletic commissions are going to supervise the sport, they need to supervise that. That's not happening. And even in the other part of the sport, which is judging and refereeing and all that stuff, it's also there's. I think that there's a lot of improvement that can be made. And what I see is that there's no discussion. Nobody's discussing it. I mean, the biggest pool of information on the sport is going to be the trainers and the fighters, and I don't see them giving any input to these commissions on what could be made better in the sport. And we're just keep on rolling along. You have a very few entities that are actually making money, and you have a lot of how can I put it, unethical practices happening, and it just keeps on happening, and the sport is harmed, and the athletes are harmed, and the few people that are doing these things, they're making the money. So it's not a healthy point at the moment from my perspective of where the sport is.
This is something actually that is always discussed, like Alex said, like you said, Alex, behind the scenes, and it's never brought to attention. Um, One thing that's different with our sport and with baseball, football, basketball is those athletes have unions. I know that unions have been discussed at a fantasy level, in MMA. Um, that might fix some of the stuff, but I just think at the end of the day, like I think that promoters and commissions are going to wipe their butt with a fighters union. Well, do you think that fighters unions would help this?
I think it would. I just think that
Hmm.
the medium is too fragmented
Hmm.
to form a fighters union right now. I
Yeah.
mean,
Hmm.
an event like the UFC doesn't has no interest in a fighters union being formed, and they have the muscle to keep it from happening. But that in itself does not relieve the athletic commissions from their responsibility to the sport. They're there to regulate the sport. They're there to
Hmm.
supervise it. So just because you don't have a fighters union doesn't mean that the commissions can get away without doing their job. You
Right.
know, so I mean, so many things. Like I said, this event Taura, they that was licensed by the athletic commission, and they fucked a bunch of fighters. So
Hmm.
what would a fighters union help in that sense? It wouldn't help in that sense, for example. Okay, or with the case like I say, where managers are charging 25-30% using unethical practices, giving favors to matchmakers and events, and doing unethical stuff, and getting advantages, and limiting the entries to the sport. And
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, fighters union would help, but that is the athletic commission job. That's why they're there, to
Yeah,
regulate the sport. So
they're
yes,
the
a
governing
fighters
body.
union,
Hmm.
yeah, a fighters union would help,
Hmm.
and we're not there yet. But that does not take the responsibility away from the athletic commissions.
You know what? You just hit a memory of something that I know exactly what you mean. The athletic commissions do need to be more of a governing body in that essence. Like, I remember one time, because I'm a big baseball fan, as you know. Um, the Yankees were trying to get a player over to their team, and one of the players, when he was on third base, said to him, "You'd look really good in this jersey." That player that said that got fined just for saying that. And can you
There you
imagine,
go.
like,
There you go. And I don't think you have to be that strict. I mean, you don't have to be leonine.
yeah.
But what's happening, on the other hand,
Hmm.
is rotten. Okay, it's rotten. I'm not going to say
Hmm.
names or
Hmm.
specifics or anything, but it's rotten. And there's a few people are making a lot of money in this sport, and they're making it in an unethical and wrong way, and harming a lot of other people. So
Hmm.
these are issues that have to be addressed, and have to be brought public, and have to be discussed, and have to be realized. And they're not enjoyable subjects, but they're the truth. And
Hmm.
if MMA is going to be a sport like other sports, it has to address these issues, and has to discuss these issues, and it has to face these issues, and that is not happening. And that's what I think is the biggest problem in MMA at this moment. Is that it is a mainstream sport,
Yeah.
but it's being deviated from being a sport to being something
Hmm.
else.
The other
So
the other reason I don't think that fighter union, people don't realize, when, like, I've had people say, why don't fighters have a union? It's like, you got to look at it like this. Look at me, for example. Let's say that the UFC or Bellator locked out the fighters union, the unionized fighters. They're going to call someone like me. I got the email for Jacksonville in 2020. They're going to call someone like me who's not in the UFC. You want to fight? Here's 15 grand. Oh yeah, I'll fight for the UFC. That's not in the union. And on top of that, these lesser fighters, like the casuals watching the UFC, all they care about is a fight. They don't care about the martial arts aspect. If these two fighters are scrapping in there, which they probably are, because a lot of lower level fighters do, they're going to love it. And it's not really going to be a loss by the product. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't think that the union is the total answer, but it might be a start. But I do like where you're getting on with the commission holding people accountable.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the union's miles away from happening. The
Mm-hmm.
fighters themselves, it's not in their DNA. Because Brian, come on, fighters fight each other. How are they going to be unionized? It's
Yeah, how
not.
are we gonna?
They,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
come to events. If you go to these events, they're all looking at themselves cross-eyed. So
yeah.
it's not easy to get a union together, and who wants to die on that sword,
Mm-hmm.
But eventually it'll happen. But that doesn't mean that from now to the point that happens, this can just keep on going happening, and this is the governing body's responsibility to look into and straighten out all these things. Judging has to be discussed. There's lots of
Mm-hmm.
improvements that can be made. Weight cutting, lots of improvements can be made. I mean, let me ask you a question. I still can't figure out why commissions are using mechanical scales. Mechanical scales are not as precise
Accurate.
as I mean, and we had an event in Texas a few months ago where they had a digital scale backstage and a mechanical stage
Mm-hmm.
on the stage, and there was a difference between the digital scale, which was very precise, and the mechanical scale. And the poor guys would weigh themselves on the digital scale, think they were on weight, and then got up on the mechanical scale, and they were not on weight, and then they'd have to go and spend another hour losing weight. Anybody who's ever dehydrated or made weight knows what that means to the poor guy,
Yeah.
So, and the commissioners, I mean, a lot of these people, bless their hearts, they're not people that ever fought, that ever made weight. They don't
Mm-hmm.
really get what they're managing. That's my perspective. There's a lot of good people, but there's a lot of people that are really unknowledgeable, and they're political appointees, and they're not there because of their knowledge in the sport per se. It's for some other reason.
Yeah.
So, man, there's so much stuff to be discussed. Ryan, I got to hit the road again, man.
Hey, all
So,
right. Yeah. Well, we gotta have you another time. A lot to discuss. Alex, good luck to your fighters at UFC 274. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Alex Davis, everybody. Talk to you
thank
later.
you guys. See you. Bye bye.